the 5 principles that we Republicans and Democrats came together was giving more flexibility to states and providing them with what we call a stability fund to do things like risk sharing, whether they do a high-risk insurance pool or whatever, to help the high-cost cases out, to lower the cost for everybody else. No, we're gonna follow the system.
Next question.
At this time, we'll move to the question back there, please. 9718 and 4687.
That guy.
We'll go to the gentle lady in the back.
Thank you. I agree with what you're saying, but I've been reading and I'm very happy to hear that you're in that group. I was going to ask you about that, and I'm very happy. But what I hear that you're working on doesn't seem to be what's really going to be the core of what's going to improve health care. And there's some things missing there. And I'm wondering if you're not going to ask citizens who are receiving health care, who are under this system now, because you're not. Congressmen and senators have a different system. They have health care, which I think every citizen should have that kind of health care. How do you address a problem? I'm serious about this. How do you address a problem when you don't know what it feels like? You don't know what's happening.
Well, I think that's a very good point.
Thank you.
And that Congress should never impose laws, rules, and regulations upon the American people that it refuses to impose upon itself. So when it did pass, I dropped out of the congressional plan and I went on my own to Connect for Colorado and bought my own plan. And so, no, that's not true. And so now I have government insurance for having served over 20 years in the military. And so that's the policy I have. I don't have a congressional plan. But what happened is when I changed over, and so yes, are members of Congress required to buy their insurance through an exchange? Yes, but it's highly subsidized. And so I went as an individual without the subsidy. So my premium at that time, before my TRICARE kicked in, was $600. In the congressional plan, which is actually the same plan for all federal employees. In Connect for Colorado, the plan I bought was $600, about $600 premium. The difference was in the deductibles and the copays. So the deductible and the federal plan at that time was $300. In the Affordable Care Plan, or under Connect for Colorado, it was up to $4,500. I was responsible for 100%, and from $4,500 to $6,200, I was responsible for 40%. That's okay for me, but that's not okay for so many middle-class Americans who would get no income-adjusted subsidies in the plan. And so I just think we can do better. We can do better. Okay, well, let me walk you through the legislation I'm writing right now. And so the first thing I do is that on the Medicaid piece, so I break it up into 3 different parts. The Medicaid piece, and then the taxes for ARPA income should not be done in the health care bill. They should be done in tax reform. And then health insurance, I think, at the end of the day, could be done on a bipartisan basis. But Medicaid, so Medicaid expansion, what the Affordable Care Act promised was that we would have lower cost, we would have more people insured in private insurance at a lower cost, and that didn't happen. What did happen was we had expanded coverage, but it was through the Medicaid expansion program. And the Medicaid expansion program differs from traditional Medicaid. Traditional Medicaid is for low-income children, for seniors in nursing homes, and for disabled. So traditional Medicaid. So I think there was a big mistake that the Republicans made initially, that my party made initially, and that was including traditional Medicaid in the bill. Traditional Medicaid was never a part of the Affordable Care Act. And so what I do is I leave it out of the bill and just address Medicaid expansion. So traditional Medicaid is about 50-50 split. 50% federal in terms of cost, 50% state, administered by the state. So the reimbursement levels are made by the state for providers. What I think is between a block grant or capitated for that population to move it off from a fee-for-service system. Can be adjusted by medical inflation plus 1%. Let me do Tabor, but then we got to get some other questions. I believe there's no question Colorado has a problem. You know, I support the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights, but it does have a flaw in it that has to be fixed. And the flaw is this. The flaw is that whenever there's a decline in the economy and you have a drop in revenue to the state, amendment to it that mandates that the state maintain a rainy day fund that can be injected into it so that the base stays up, so that it doesn't fall down. And so, but the longer you wait to fix it, the more significant in the long run the problem is. So that's a state issue, it's not a federal issue. Next question.
Gentle lady in the back, please.
Yes, Congressman, Delia Proscuda, 80120. The bill that went through the House that you voted against that actually did pass, the health care bill, you had said that you had voted against it because the CBO score hadn't been determined at that point. And I'm wondering why you put so much credence in the CBO score when the CBO said that by now 22 million people would be on ACA and only 8 million have been. They say that 22 million people would be without insurance if Obamacare was repealed, when in fact that's because mainly people who are being forced by insurance would not be forced to anymore. So I really question the CBO's credibility.
Sure. Two issues, I think. I did mention the CBO score, but I also mentioned pre-existing conditions, and I had a concern about pre-existing conditions in the bill coming out of the House. And I came up with an amendment, I offered it to leadership, and unfortunately they didn't go with the amendment, and I voted against the bill. But on the CBO score, so when we talk about projections forward, a couple issues. Number one, when two issues occurred why their numbers didn't jive. Number one is that they counted people that once you did away with the employer mandate that chose not to buy insurance as having lost insurance. I don't agree with that. But the other thing is that there was a challenge to the Affordable Care Act that prevailed at the Supreme Court. And the challenge was on the Medicaid expansion, that whether or not the federal government can mandate states to expand their Medicaid program, or if they didn't, risk losing all Medicaid funding. And the court ruled that was not, the federal government did not have that power. So the Medicaid expansion program became an optional program. And so when you look at the CBO scores, its initial analysis didn't anticipate that court decision. And so 19 states did not choose the Medicaid expansion program.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. The next three numbers are 732-4757, 732-4691, and 732-4688. If you have those numbers, please make your way to a microphone. Again, 4757, 4691, 4688. Microphone. To the gentleman in the back.
Hi, Mike. I'm Tom Sullivan from Centennial, Colorado. My big concern right now is the business that's going on with Russia. You told us you were going to stand up to Trump. Since your May 16th statement about him giving classified information to the Russians, you've been silent. And there's a new Russian story nearly every day. The one, I don't know if you saw the one today about the president actually dictated the response that his son made about seeing these Russian people concerning adopted kids. My question to you would be, would you take a meeting with a foreign enemy who told you that they had information about a political rival, as the president said that all you politicians do? He said you all are pretty shady and that it's a bad business that you're in. Also, my other question is, if Trump fires Mueller, what part of holy hell that Senator Graham says will come about will you be a part of?
I think it would be a terrible mistake for him to fire Mueller, and so you must have missed this, so maybe you're out of the country, but in Russia, I don't know, what I did say early on was that there ought to be an independent counsel. And that happened. And I think that's the appropriate place to do the investigation, and not this circus of congressional committees, where I think the most dangerous place in Washington, D.C. is between one of these members of Congress on these committees and a TV camera. And so I think the independent counsel, Mueller's going to get down to the bottom of it, but I think it'd be a disaster if the president were to fire him. We certainly urge him not to. I did meet with the Russian ambassador, though. But it was over, unfortunately, we are missing a person who went to climb, a police officer from Littleton. And he went to climb in a mountain in Russia, and we lost him. And couldn't find him. And so I met with the Russian ambassador at the embassy in Washington, D.C. to ask for his help, ask for Russia's help. I hope not. Yeah.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, please, we have a lot of questions to get to this evening.
Excuse me.
Next question, the gentleman in the back. To the gentleman in the back, and can you please give me your number before you ask?
Sorry, I already grabbed his ticket. It was 488. 488.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for having the town hall. My name's Lee Reedy. I was, or am part of a Brighton resident. I was one of many thousands that voted for conservative principles, and so I'm here to support you as well. Obviously, I think we ought to repeal the ACA clean meat.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's be respectful so that when your question is asked, it can be heard. Sir,
I also think that, beg pardon, so I also think that we should, after doing that, have a one bill, one vote kind of setup where we're not trying to cram everything into a single bill. My question is, will you support such a legislative process that will limit a bill to a single issue, as opposed to multiple issues that try to be omnibus about everything?
Well, so the question was, would I agree to, and they have this in the state of Colorado, a single subject bill. I think that's an important reform, but I think the most important reform that the Congress of the United States can do is a balanced budget amendment. To give that to the people, to the states to ratify. I think the greatest threat to America comes from within, and it's our rising debt.
thank you. 4691 and 4757 and 9728. Oh, gentleman in the back. What's your number?
Use the microphone.
Hi there, thank you for holding this town hall. I'm one of your constituents. My name is Maria. My question is on the holdback that was introduced by Representative Gutierrez. It's something that, well, so the holdback was introduced by Senator Gutierrez. It's a bill that would essentially help DACA recipients. It would put a permanent solution to DACA recipients that are hanging on the line essentially right now with it being attacked by an administration, and it would essentially give us, it would provide, it would just help thousands of immigrants. And I wanted to put out there that I am a DACA and I am one of your constituents, and I'm just wondering if you would be for or against a bill that would essentially help us out and give us a permanent solution, help us essentially, eventually, and hopefully achieve the American dream of becoming citizens instead of a dead end of just renewing.
So I clearly think, I don't think there's any question that we need to secure our border and we need to have enforceable immigration laws. But I do think that, in particular, that we need to keep families together. And that the first bill that I introduced was with Congressman Gutierrez, and it's called the Bridge Act. And the Bridge Act, maybe that's the bill you were referring to. He's my co-sponsor on the Bridge Act. And then in the Senate side, it was Senator Durbin and Senator Graham. So bipartisan, House and Senate, early January. And so what that does is it takes the executive order that created DACA and puts it into permanent law for a 3-year period to give Congress the opportunity then to decide what to do. But I think it's important to give certainty to the young people that are here, that are going to school and that are working. I had an interesting thing occur about 3 years ago when I had a young lady who graduated at her top of her class from Aurora Public Schools and came to me and wanted to go to the United States Naval Academy. And she had all the right credentials. I mean, she was in sports, she was great grades, great ACT scores. Just one problem as we were going into this, and that is her parents took her to the United States from Mexico when she was a year old. When she was 1 year old. She has no knowledge of Mexico. This is the only country she's ever known. And so I think she ought to be able to serve this country and to have a path to citizenship from it. Now, there's no question. So here's what I think ought to occur on the immigration issues. That I think there ought to be, so I have a conservative vision on where we ought to go, but I think we need a transition period that would allow people that haven't violated laws other than immigration laws to come out of the shadows and be able to work and live in this country without fear of deportation. And I think we need to move to a system. I think we need to move to a system. I think we, you know, I did vote for the wall thing, this $1.5 million. I think it's important to secure our border. I think we need to have an e-verify system. Going forward, I think we need to track all these visa overstays. I think we need to do all those things. But we need a transition. And that transition that I mentioned to you that will allow these people to come out of the shadows. But going forward, I think we need zero tolerance on illegal immigration.
Next number, ladies and gentlemen, is 4691, 9728, and 4773. Again, 4773, 9728. Gentleman in the back, what's the number?
4697.
Hi, Representative Cockman. My name's Melissa Benjamin. You know me as the relentless home care worker that reaches out to you all the time. I have asked for a meeting with you, with the other home care workers. Still haven't gotten to that. Hopefully someday we do. Again, I provide home care services paid for by Medicaid to our elders and to people with disabilities. One of the elders I take care of during this whole cut Medicaid snafu that just went on with the repeal bill, when I walked into her home, she said, "They're trying to kill us." And she was very upset, and I asked her who, and she pointed at the TV, and Speaker Paul Ryan was on there, and she was talking about the gutting of Medicaid. I don't think a 93-year-old woman should have to fear her life like that. Representative, as you have pointed out, the House and Senate healthcare repeal bill went far beyond repealing the Affordable Care Act to cut Medicaid services. In your letter to Speaker Ryan on July 11th, you said, and I quote, "We should take an approach that does not impact those Medicaid services unrelated to the ACA's expansion, such as skilled nursing for seniors, services for children, and for the disabled." When you speak of a block grant program, that type of program would do exactly that. It would cut services. It would cut funding.
I'm only referring to the Medicaid expansion piece as being part of the block grant and not the rest of Medicaid.
Well, and my question is, will you commit to vote against any bill that cuts funding for Medicaid services that would put our seniors, our elders, and our people with disabilities in harm's way, or also the workers who work full-time jobs but still qualify for Medicaid because they're being paid wages so low that they cannot sustain a life? Because those are the people you're talking about when you talk about Medicaid expansion.
Sure. First of all, I don't think it should be part of the bill, but it was. But I don't know about gutting. It was medical inflation plus 1% growth on an annual basis. I don't know if you count that as gutting. I just don't think it should be in the bill, because I do think that this administration, through CMS, can make changes to incrementally to improve the system, to look at lowering costs and improving outcomes. And so I think it's unnecessary to have that, which is not a part of was never part of the Affordable Care Act in this bill. Very clear in the letter on that.
Thank you. The gentleman in the back, would you have your number, please?
9728.
Good evening, Congressman. My name is Wayne Smith. I work at Children's Hospital, Colorado. We provide world-class pediatric health care, regardless of a child's race, religion, immigration status, creed, or color. I would invite you to come to our campus and see the great work that's being done in preventing injuries, making kids healthier, saving lives. I'd also like to see you spend more time in the community visiting our campus and the University of Colorado Health System, Children's Hospital of Colorado, federally qualified health centers, school-based health centers, and other community-based locations where healthcare is delivered that is not always a part of what you're asking in these bills. My question to you is, when will we get to a point where health care for children with complex medical conditions can be assured for all children in Colorado and beyond? The bills that have been forwarded thus far do nothing to support that. We are an anchor institution in the Aurora community. We have thousands of jobs that we support, and an estimate that in the years to come up to 45,000 people will be on the Anschutz Medical Campus each day. The legislation that's been proposed will harm our ability to deliver health care and also do damage to the anchor institutions on the Anschutz Medical Campus.
Thanks. Well, first of all, I've gone through every single program, visited on the Anschutz campus. And a couple of months ago, I was at the Children's Hospital, and I've got a meeting this month again, at Children's Hospital. So I'm not sure, I'm sorry we never ran into each other, but maybe I've been there about as much as you have. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I appreciate your work there. In fact, Bill Lindsay, who's on the board of Children's, he helped me on looking at the bill coming out of the House and the pre-existing conditions issue, and I appreciate his experience as well as his dedication to Children's Hospital. Well, let me just say what is extraordinary happening, I think, out in the community when it comes to healthcare, and that is these what we call federally approved community health clinics. Federally qualified. Sorry, federally qualified community health clinics, and there are 2 in this town alone. One dedicated to women, the Salud Clinic. And then there's 2. The new one is just strictly dedicated to women, and the other one that's been here for a while. But they've got tremendous. And then in Aurora, we have another system that's based there, and that is called MCPN, Metro Community Provider Network. And these systems are just dramatic, federally funded. They come up for reauthorization at the end of September. I'm a big supporter. They serve the uninsured and the underinsured on a sliding scale basis, offer incredible primary care services and some specialty care services. And the CHIP program will come up, Children's Health Insurance Plan will come up for reauthorization at the end of September too, and I'm certainly going to support that.
Thank you. The next number is 4773, followed by 4764, and 4686. If you have those numbers, please make yourself to the microphone, and we'll go to the gentleman in the back.
4773.
Good evening, Mr. Kaufman. Thank you very much for meeting with us tonight. My name is Noah Tonk, and I'm a resident of Aurora, one of your constituents, and a principal in Denver Public Schools. I hear a lot of conversation in the media and in Congress and in the streets over the last 8 years about healthcare, and it seems to center primarily around insurance, providing affordable insurance, how do we get more people insured. Like you, my family and I are on a healthcare plan with a fairly cruddy deductible and a fairly high premium. Many days we go to the doctor and I wonder why I'm paying this monthly premium at all, because I apparently have to pay the entire bill. The more I think about it and read and examine the situation, it seems like we have a system in this country where the entire healthcare industry is dependent upon making money as a result of people being sick. That is the core of the problem. When we have a healthcare system that cannot make money unless people are sick, that system cannot be trusted to help people stay healthy. So, in my opinion, and the opinion of many Americans, private health care, private health insurance is the problem, not the solution. So my question to you is, what will you do to end that rather than continue to maintain this funding for a patchwork of insurance across our states?
First, I thought you were talking about, except for, and first of all, thank you so much for your dedication to teaching. My sister just retired from Littleton Public Schools. But that problem that you mentioned, in terms of not rewarding outcomes, in terms of managing care, is, I think, throughout the entire system. I mean, look at the Medicaid system. I mean, that's in the Medicaid system too. We've got to change it. You know, where, for instance, I mean, where they have a medical home, where there's maybe a physician that's paid a flat amount per patient to keep them out of the hospital. So it's a problem in the American healthcare system, not just in private or public, but I think it's a problem throughout.
Thank you.
Perfect. We got question 686 is the ticket.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please be respectful to the gentle lady's question in the back?
We're going to ask this question right here.